Hey, hey, we're here. Can you guys hear me? Can you see me? Oh, good. Okay, sweet. It's working. Man, I just spent all this time trying to get StreamYard going. It's this software where, like, if somebody asks a question, I can click and it's going to go on the screen. Couldn't get it working. Awesome. Man, good to see everybody here. Thanks so much for coming. Gonna make my tea, wait a few minutes, and yeah, we'll get started. It's kind of weird doing this all by myself. I'm used to doing it with Noah, where there's like another real person here, and now I'm just talking into my computer. Very strange. Damn, I'm getting out-teed already. 1970s Baojang. Wow. What's up, Misha? Brianna? How's it going, guys? I'm gonna have anybody else drinking tea, by the way, or is it just me and Denny? I'm gonna drink, I'm not sure it's gonna work, Tea and Whisk Golden Monkey. Tucker Max wrote about tea recently on his blog, which kind of blows my mind because he doesn't, not the kind of person you would think would drink tea. And in his recommendations of places to get tea, one of them was in Vegas, which was like totally insane. I had no idea there was a good tea place in Vegas. So I went there a couple weeks ago, got a bunch of tea, and yeah, it's pretty good. Let's see. What's up, Alex? Good to see you, man. I was just in Oahu a couple days ago. Thought about you. Da Hong Pao. Man, so many people are drinking good tea. Pumpkin Gaba from Jiao Zhou. I love that tea. Like 2 years ago, they had this incredible GABA, and it hasn't been the same since. The pumpkin one is really good, but that one from a few years ago was absolutely incredible. All right, let me make myself some tea. Oops, oh God, way too much. Oh. There we go. All right. Wow, Gyokro, damn it. See, everybody's drinking better tea than me. I should have made something fancy. Alex, you got to check out that museum. So he's talking about the Honolulu Museum of Art. It's a small museum, but what's cool about it is that everything in it is good. So they have like Japanese art collection, Korean art collection, American art collection, European art collection. Like they have like one of like every good thing they should have. So especially if you're not super into art, it's just like a cool place to go because you can see a little bit of everything. It's not like a million pictures of like, baby Jesus where he looks like a peanut from the, I don't know, hundreds or 1500s or whatever. Wow, so many people drinking tea. Amazing. Fatima, you're drinking water, but it's good to see you. Fatima is from Noah's live stream, which is the one that inspired me to do this. So that's cool to see her. Now I kind of feel like I'm on Noah's and he's just not here. I should zoom in on this here. Oh, there we go. I try to measure it. I usually measure because different teas are such different weights. Like this one, you can't really see. It's like really fluffy. And so it's like really a lot of it. Dieter, what's up? Also from Noah's live stream. Cool to see you guys, man. Wow, and we have 58 people. So I said if we get 50, I'm going to do this regularly. So you guys can all leave now. We're definitely going to keep doing it. That's awesome. But some teas are super dense. Let me see. I think I have one right here. I promise I'm not going to talk too much about tea. Anyway, I don't have it near me, but some of them are really dense. I find it. Oh, Brian's here too. Brian's like one of my super good friends. Actually, he's my number one oldest friend. We've been friends since preschool, if you can believe that. He's one of the guys who's in on every single one of the properties, I think. Yeah, definitely every single one. Definitely like the most active person in the island. So we do like all the island projects together. And he's in Hawaii in our apartment right now. I was just visiting him last week. Super cool. Yeah, it is a real friendship. It's funny too, because we both lived in Austin for a really long time and didn't know. We'd been out of touch for like 20 years. And then I found him on Facebook. And so we reconnected. We had like all this stuff in common, but we hadn't been in touch in a while. David Lopez. Wow, it's so cool to see everybody. I already love this. Wow. K Sitch, I know who you are. Good to see you. Wow. Man, so cool to see you guys. This is awesome. All right. I need a picture here. we go. Lavender chamomile. Is it nighttime there? That's like a perfect nighttime kind of tea. So cool. Oh, David Lopez, Dong Ding. Man, another great one. Yeah, I haven't been able to find a good Dong Ding in a long time. Actually, I'll tell you, the best Dong Ding right now is Jiao Zhou. I forget what they call it. I think it's number 529 or something. It's like their competition Dong Ding from this year. Really good one. All right. So I promise I'm not just going to talk about tea all the time, although it seems like everybody here likes tea, which is pretty awesome. The number, I think you guys probably already read this, but the number one complaint on my survey was people don't like that I write about tea so much. And I don't really even feel like I write about tea all that much. So that was kind of hilarious. But then also a lot of people said they like when I write about tea. So probably just keep writing about it the same amount. All right. Misha, you can order it. jiaozhou.eu. Maybe somebody will type that because my keyboard's far from me. But ZHAOZHOU. Hey, Ben's here for the tea talk. Cheers to everybody drinking tea. So cool, man. I feel like I'm having tea with like 60 something people. Marjorie, you're kind of you're my kind of reader. That's great. Even if you don't drink tea, you can read about it. Yeah, like when I write about tea ceremony and stuff, it's not like so much about the tea. It's more like about the experience and what you can learn from it and stuff like that. What's up, Jazz? Thank you, man. You know, it's funny, actually. I might drive my RV again, which is crazy. I haven't driven my RV in many years. A reader bought it, then another reader bought it from that guy, and then one of my friends bought it from him, and they're about to move from LA to Vegas, so I might drive it over here for them, which I think would be cool. Leo, another one of my great friends. Man, so good to see you. Man, Dieter, awesome to see you too, man. Thanks. Yeah, I'm psyched to do this. It's one of those things where like it's so much fun to do Noah's, but then I was a little worried I would show up and it would be like, you know, just me and Leo having tea, and that's not a good situation. So, Guten Tag, Austria. Man, you're really close to Jiaozhou and Budapest, my favorite city. I really like Austria too, actually. One of my favorite things about Austria is there are so many good museums that, you know, there aren't really any in Budapest. So that's the best situation you can have. So you can just take a short train to Austria, and it's like super different than Budapest. Really, really good museums there. Wow, from Czech Republic, also Budapest. Damn, all these people in Europe, it really makes me wish I could be in Budapest. I hope someday, sometime soon, I can do one of these from Budapest. That'd be really cool. Maybe even from Jiaozhou. That'd be cool. Leo and I, yeah, my two good friends here that are here, Leo and Brian, we've spent like dozens and dozens and dozens of hours drinking tea. Probably we've all had tea together before too. I'm not really sure. I never lived in Berlin, but I went to Berlin a bunch of times, and Berlin has the #1 best karaoke in the world. In Mauer Park, there's something called Bear Pit Karaoke. What's up, Jesse? What's up, Marco? Seattle and Oregon. Man, people from everywhere, from Spain. Wow, this is so cool, man. I love this. Oh man, house projects. I have so many house projects going on right now. I have this like ridiculous setup right now for my computer. I have like this, my camera's hooked up and my microphone's hooked up, or I'd turn it around and you'd see them. The exciting one is we just got solar panels, which is really, really cool. It's a ridiculous process to get solar panels. You put them on the roof and then you have to wait for all of these permits and permissions and inspections and all this. And I was in Hawaii and they finally got turned on. I was so excited. I logged in to see how they were doing, and it was terrible. And so I asked my wife, I'm like, hey, like, what's going on? The past couple of days, the solar hasn't worked. Turns out it was like the only 2 days where it's rainy and cloudy in Vegas. But today is the first sunny day, so I'm excited to see. One of my big projects too is I'm going to build, if anybody's ever been to Song Tea, but they have, I think, the best tea table in the world. So I'm going to copy theirs. The owner gave me like all the dimensions, how to make it, all that kind of stuff. Wow, so many people from Germany, really cool. And then I'm going to make a tatami tea room too, a Japanese tea room. And from Pittsburgh, wow, so many people from Sweden, Chicago. dude, this is so cool, man. Especially when I can't travel, it's kind of cool to like have some connection to people in other places. In Budapest. Hey, Marton, is that how I pronounce it? How is Budapest right now? It seems like I can go if I get 2 negative tests. I'm thinking about going. Is stuff open? Is it worth going right now? Oh, Denmark. One of my other favorite museums was in Denmark. It was, what was it, like the Art and Design Museum or something? Incredible one. I like that tea house in Austin. They used to have a different name, I think, right? It's on 35. Been to that one. So, let's see. Okay, most things are closed. So I know my tea place is open. Jiao Zhou is open a little bit. Okay, maybe I'm going to wait then. I'm dying. Budapest is probably the #1 place I want to go back to. I miss it so much. It's like such a different lifestyle than Vegas. Yeah, and they're just like being able to walk around. Walk around like a big city. In Vegas, it's driving. It's like a little bit different. Alex, I'm surprised to see that the time works for everybody too. I actually didn't even really check. Basically, I figured I want to drink my tea in the morning, and I want to make sure that it's late enough that I can sleep in a little bit. What's up, Mike? Guanyin. Yeah, that was the old name of it. I had a friend who went to the new one, and they said it was even better. So anyway, I'll get sidetracked, and I'll just talk about tea this entire time. But the reason I chose buying friends with, Guanajuato, I was just there during COVID too. I doubt my mom's watching, but she might be. She reads my blog, and oh man, I've got some stories about that actually, but maybe we'll save that. You can swear. I don't swear though. I never swear except in gangster rap karaoke personally. Oh yeah, Spider House. Wow, everybody's like has all these places that I have like these nostalgic memories of. So I want to talk about, if people have questions about it, I want to talk about buying properties with friends. And the reason is, I feel like I've written like everything I can about it. I feel like it's like pretty straightforward. And then people always ask me to write more about it, but they don't have like specific questions they ask about it. So I'd be super curious if anybody else has, like, what are people's questions? Are people thinking about it? Are people interested in it? What's not clear about it? Does anybody have any questions about that? Oh, audio crackle. Oh, shoot, that's not good. Okay, hold on. I have a microphone here. Let me mess around with it. Let's see. Is that any better? Same? Okay, hold on. So I know you and your friends chose not to monetize any of it, but do you think it could work? Okay, sweet. Okay, good. Awesome properties. Awesome questions. So you could monetize it. And I think if you do fewer people, maybe it like actually makes sense to monetize it. But here's the big issue with monetizing it, is that one of you is going to do it. One of you is going to do the work, because you can't really have like 5 or 10 people like managing an Airbnb, but you're obviously going to share the money with everybody. And so it just sort of like, it's going to be like one person doing all of this work for really very little incentive. So it's like, we did the math on it because Noah, I know a lot of you guys here know Noah. Noah like always wants to monetize everything because he's like so business oriented and all that kind of stuff. And we talked about it, and then, we did the math, and it's like, okay, so one of us is going to have to take on all the work, and like everybody's going to benefit by like maybe $100 a month, $200 a month, some like relatively small amount. And then the problem is that you can't just pop in whenever you want, because maybe there's guests there. You can't just leave your stuff there. So like, for example, Brian, who's on right now, is in our Hawaii place. And my friend Todd and I, maybe one other person, we all scuba dive. So we just have like our scuba stuff hanging there. And so like, even if you scuba dove, the day before you flew, you could hang it up and let it dry. You don't have to worry about somebody like messing with it. I have like my dive watch there, so I don't have to carry it all around. We have teaware there, so we can have tea. So I think the experience is like really very different when it feels like it's your house. And so, yeah, for that reason, I wouldn't Airbnb it up personally. That said, I did consider, we have one in Tokyo, and I considered renting it out for the Olympics because I thought like we could probably make so much money. It's in such a good location that maybe it'd be worth it for like a one-time thing. Okay. Oh my God, there's so many questions here. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, Tim, it's almost like a vacation home. It's like, it's not super fancy. We buy pretty inexpensive things because I think one of the big ideas is that everybody can afford it. And even if you don't use it a lot, you don't worry about it very much. So I see companies all the time that try to like make this a service, but then it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars each, which I think really kind of defeats the purpose. I do I have any friends who have 9-to-5 jobs who do this? Brian, who's here, used to have a 9-to-5 job, but he would just take vacation or work. All of us kind of work, so we would work from the properties. It would be harder, but I feel like sometimes people have these limiting beliefs that they don't really matter. It's like, well, don't people with 9-to-5 sometimes go on vacations? Like you could kind of work it around that. Let's see. Yeah, it's kind of like a friend B&B. So buying them in different countries is different in every country. Generally, it's doable in some way or another. Budapest was the biggest hassle, but I sort of did it the wrong way. I basically got what I thought was an LLC, but it's called a KFT. And I have like never-ending nightmares from dealing with that, but still worth it. In Tokyo, we found an awesome company that kind of handled it. They handled the purchase. I found it, but they handled the purchase, and they actually do our bills for us every month, which is amazing. That saves us a lot of time. So the share price has varied from maybe 5,000 to like 15,000 for each one. But it's never been over, or maybe one was like 16,000, maybe Hawaii was, I kind of forget. But that one, we had fewer people. And so total cost, I think everything's been like 100, 150K, which sounds crazy. I think people don't realize you can get such good places for such cheap prices, but you just have to look a lot. Like it took me 5 years to find our Tokyo place. And it was totally worth it. Deciding whether it's a good place or not is, I think, really subjective. So for me, one of the biggest things is that I want it to be a place where I want to get to know the place deeper. It's almost like how I choose friends. Like I'm only friends with people with whom I want to have a deeper connection. And so actually we were going to buy a place in Puerto Rico before Hawaii because it's like a beautiful place. There's a lot to do there. And I actually went on a scouting trip and I liked it, but I also kind of felt like maybe there wasn't enough depth there for me personally for stuff I was interested in. So that's why we ended up doing Hawaii. And that's kind of one of the cool things is now we're locals everywhere. Like, in Hawaii, everybody knows us. They like special make stuff for us sometimes, some of the restaurants. We have friends there. So it's really like pretty cool. Bureaucracy, generally I just do everything, but I give myself a discount on the initial purchase. So I think it's like 25% less or something like that. So it's kind of weird because like I do more work ongoing, but I got a discount in the beginning, but then I also like kind of use it more because I chose it. So it ends up being totally fair. One interesting thing that we found with the island was that some of us, like Brian and I, by far do the most work, but we also like it the most and we enjoy it the most. So it doesn't feel unfair. And then we have like one guy who's literally where like you can, wind's blowing stuff outside. Sort of works out pretty well. We've never had roommate problems with co-owners. And I think that's a really good question. I think that's like the biggest concern. I think really I just have really great friends. I think it's like the easy part that makes it really easy. Like I just have very reasonable, drama-free sort of friends. But one of the other big things that we do is, something's rolling around in my backyard. Let me just see what that is. That's weird. No idea. Okay. So the other big thing I do is when I first find the place, I sort of pitch what I think it should be. So for example, the island was like the first one, and in that way, probably the most risky one. And so I also pitched it to the widest number of people because I didn't have this like group of people that do these sorts of things with me. And so essentially I said, look, we're going to do this island. It's going to be this like nature retreat. We're going to work there. We're going to like build rustic cabins. You know, we're going to learn how to boat, all that sort of stuff. And so everybody's sort of on board with that. Like if somebody wanted to have like a rave party island, probably they wouldn't do it. Yeah, what Brian's saying is 100% true as well. Like, so for example, when Brian and I did, we had one summer we did a ton of projects on the island, and like basically Brian took responsibility for half the projects, I took responsibility for the half the projects, and we just did them simultaneously. When Brian's in Hawaii right now, and our shower has a crack, so he's just fixing it. Our vent fan wasn't working, so our buddy Todd fixed it. Generally, people like, because it's not an Airbnb and because people own it, they take ownership and they want their place to be better because they know it's going to be better next time. So yeah, I definitely don't feel like I'm like the only one doing it. It's more just like dealing with LLCs and stuff. There's no benefit to having someone else. This is my Rolex Datejust, bought it a long time ago. Apparently they're worth tons of money now too. I didn't really know that. Hilo does rain a ton, and I actually left early this last trip because Brian is really into scuba diving, and we were going to scuba dive together. And then it was just like the rain wasn't good. But that said, like all of us like working on our computers and stuff like that. So a rainy day here and there is really pretty fine. Also, the food in Hilo is so good that like even if you just kind of leave and eat like amazing poke and shave ice and stuff like that, yeah, I don't know. If it rains half the time, it's all right. I feel bad because when my wife came for the first time, ooh, we just hit 100. Look at that. So cool. Whoever's 100th, oh, they left 9 to 9. What was I gonna say? Yeah, if it rains like half the time, to me that's good, and it makes Hilo really lush because there's like beautiful, you know, trees. All that. Oh yeah, flash flood. So Alex, when I was in Oahu, I did the pillbox hike. I got stuck in the rain. It was like kind of ridiculous. And then I'm getting all these flash flood warnings. And as I drove back to where my hotel was, it was like 6 inches of rain on the ground. I couldn't believe it. Fatima, it is super fun. Like even doing the projects is fun. So David, I never, oh man, so many good questions. All right, hold on, I got to pause. Oh, sorry, Alex. Yeah, my wife visited. It rained every single day she was there, and so she doesn't like to go to Hawaii anymore. We don't borrow for it up front. I think you could. I think something that actually Noah suggested, he said like, hey, now we love all these cities so much. Why don't we sell our places and then buy even better ones? And I never even thought about that, and it kind of makes sense. But I also like all of our places are in such good locations that it would be hard to really, I don't know. I think it'd be hard to find similarly good place. Jonas, great question. I have thought about that to connect people. So one of the biggest things that I learned from my surveys that like everybody wants more community with other readers. And that's something I've noticed like at my live events too, is people make such good friendships. So I haven't quite decided the best way to do that, but like some free forum or Slack or something. I just want to make sure it's something that's going to be like the right format because I'll stick with it and maintain it. But that would be like a dream come true if people bought properties together, because yeah, I found that readers really do get along well a lot of times. Thought that would be cool. Let's see. What items do you leave in each place? Yeah, I leave, usually it's like location specific stuff. So like in Budapest, it gets really cold. So I have like a really big warm jacket with a hood. We have a tea spot, you know, tea stuff in everyone. In Hawaii, we have a lot of scuba stuff. I have like my Hawaiian shirts and bathing suits, stuff like that. None of us have, do any of us have kids? I don't think anybody who owns any of the properties has kids really. One of the island, two of the island owners have kids. One of them, the kids have come. The other one, they haven't come yet. Yeah, maybe Discord. I've never used Discord, so I don't really know what it is. I think it's like just chat or something. I feel like I'd prefer to have something that has threads and forums, but I also don't know if maybe I'm just, I don't know, old fashioned. Is it Kiyomachiya one of those old like Japanese style houses? If so, we're definitely thinking about it. I think I'm done with properties, but my friend Todd, who's in Tokyo, wants to get like a mountain house, and they're like pretty cheap. So we are thinking, and he's into tea ceremony as well, so we're thinking about doing that. Yeah, there's a lot of place. Damn, I really wish I installed StreamYard in time so I could like pin these comments. Yeah, some communal stuff is left in the places. So we have like cooking stuff. We have like beach chairs in Hawaii. On the island, we have all sorts of tools and extra beds and cots. Trying to think, we have a boat, obviously. We have some kayaks that I think are technically owned by individuals, but everybody just uses them. All right, seems like people want Discord. Yeah, Facebook I kind of like as well. Might do that. Oh, there's voice on Discord. That seems kind of weird. Yeah, I know. That's the problem is like, if we choose Facebook, then people, oh, okay, sorry. I know Danny keeps asking a question. So I found that for every country, so he's asking, what are the favorite ways to research real estate opportunities? I found it's really different per country. For example, I like Redfin in the US. I don't think it's like a billion times better, but I think it's better. For Budapest, you use ingatlan.hu, which just means realestate.hu. And the process there is crazy. There's no inspections. Actually, there weren't any inspections in Japan either. So I just sort of like search around. I'll just spend like hours trying to figure it out. And I would say the US has the easiest one by far. So like Hawaii was super easy. You just used Redfin. It's one of those things where like once you decide where you want to go, you'll just like go deep on it and you'll figure out the right way. How did we design the yurt and cabin? Oh man, I mean, I don't even know where to begin with those things. So we bought the yurt from this insane company in Colorado that was a total disaster. We actually, my little 15, she was 15 at the time, my 15-year-old cousin and I went out there to try to build the platform for that thing. And it was, I mean, just a hilarious disaster. Like you wouldn't, I don't even, like I can't even get into it, but we were just like, we're sleeping in this tent, but then the only cleared areas where we were digging the posts. So like a post was in the middle of the tent. So like I'm sleeping on one side of it, she's sleeping on the other side of it. Then like it rained, so it all filled, all the posts were like crooked. We ended up hiring our neighbors to put in the posts and build the platform. And then we bought the yurt and we built the yurt on top. But I'd say the big lesson there was that we asked the locals, we're like, how do you build a foundation? And they basically said, oh yeah, all you do is you build these, you put down these concrete blocks, and then you put gravel under it and you put these posts on. In general, like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just go to these places and like be friendly, and you're going to meet people who know how to do everything. And so, we always joke, but it's actually not a joke. We probably would be dead if it wasn't for our island neighbors. Like they've saved us so many times. Yeah, Jesse, that's the thing is like a lot of families like do this once they become like more wealthy. They'll usually do like 2 couples is pretty common. And that was sort of where I got the idea is I was like, well, I know people do this already. Why don't we just do it at a level that's like affordable for everybody? Because it does seem to work really well usually for families. We do an Greg's asking what entity structure we have. We do an LLC. We do a Wyoming Llc. It's just the easiest. It's like the most private one. It's the easiest one. AwesomeWyomingLLCs.com or whatever. It's like used to be $29 to start one, which was really cheap. Yeah, like I said, in Budapest we did a KFT, which is like when you tell people in Budapest that you have a KFT, they talk to you as if you have like a public company because they know it's like an insane amount of paperwork and hassle. Yeah, good question. So for the international ones, we always organize with a US LLC first. So that way I can take everybody's money. We can open up a bank account. So it's not just like mixing up with my money. And then in most countries, a foreign LLC can just buy property there. In fact, we should have done that in Budapest. That's where I learned that lesson. I'm trying to think if there's any situation where that wasn't the case. Yeah, so Canada, Japan, and Budapest. Canada and Japan, the foreign LLC owns it. It was a little bit hairy in Japan where it wasn't like totally clear that we were supposed to be able to do it, but it ended up working. And then in Budapest, our LLC owns the KFT, but I'm going to switch it so the LLC owns the property, but Budapest is like insane bureaucracy. And so, yeah, that's like, I'm probably gonna have to go there like 2 or 3 times to straighten that out. Are there any other real estate questions I didn't answer? I know that like sometimes I'd kind of go off and I'd see them passing. So if there's any more of those, let's see. Travel disaster story and what I learned from it. Wow, so many. Let's see, that's a good one. I don't, oh, sorry, we got one last one. So I don't read all the fine print, just to be super honest. I try to like ask people, and yeah, maybe I will do crypto after. So let's do a couple more property questions, then we'll do crypto, and then we'll just do whatever people want. Oh, of course, yeah, Leo, thank you. So Peru hike. So this is probably the biggest disaster ever. So there was a flight deal for a flight to Lima, Peru, and it was like 300 something bucks. And it was like, 4 months away, one of these crazy deals, so 300 bucks round trip. So I buy the ticket without really thinking about what I'm going to do. And then a month before, I start researching to see what I can do in Peru. And so it turns out the thing to do is this thing called the Inca hike, the Inca Trail, which is like you go to Machu Picchu. It's this beautiful historic hike, all this kind of stuff. And I go to sign up, and it turns out you can't do it without a tour guide. So I email all the tour guides. They're all full. So I can't do it officially. And there's no way you can do it without. So then I look, and there's another thing called the Salcantay Trail. So I decided to do the Salcantay Trail. And it's like the Inca Trail, but harder. But I think, well, I'm in good shape. This is going to be easy. And I'm reading about it. There's like no maps, but there are people who have done it, and they basically say like, here's the waypoints, do this, do this, do this. And so I write those down on my Palm Pilot, essentially, or not Palm Pilot, but like some old Nokia phone. It's like, first you should see a big rock with a tree next to it. Then you should see a river. Then you should see like a little hut. And then they all say like, make sure you allocate 4 or 5 days to acclimatize to the altitude. But I was like young and cocky, and I'm like, I'm in good shape. Nothing, I have a good immune system. It's going to be fine. So I allocate 0 days for altitude sickness because I've never been at altitude. And it's a 5-day hike, and I basically have 3 days to do it, or 4 days or something like that. Forget which one. So I get there, take this like 12-hour bus up to where it starts, get off the bus and go to my hostel. And as I'm walking, I immediately feel winded. I'm going up like an incline like this, and I can like barely breathe, and my heart is like pounding. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'm in trouble here. But I think, well, I can sleep overnight. I can wake up in the morning. Probably I'll be fine in the morning. So I go to sleep, wake up, still don't really feel that great. Start walking the first day of the hike, and I see this truck full of like migrant farmers or something. It looks like a produce kind of truck, and everybody's in the back, and they're like on sacks of potatoes or something. So I ask them if I can come with them, and they're like, yeah, okay. So I get with them, and they drop me off on day 2 of the hike, because day 1 is just along this rock, along the road. And then they say, okay, you just go down that way and make sure you turn right at the fork and not left. So I say, okay, fine. So I've got my little backpack. I have no water. I brought this like sterilizing pen that's like a UV thing you stick in water, but I hadn't tested it, so I didn't really know how to use it. And then the day before I went to REI, and I got all these protein bars because they were the highest calorie per gram, and I hadn't tried any of them. And that was all my food. And I had the world's smallest tent, the world's smallest sleeping bag, all that kind of stuff, all in my little 19-liter backpack. So I start walking. I'm exhausted immediately. They did give me coca tea, actually. So I was drinking coca tea. Didn't really help, or maybe it did. I don't know. Don't know what to compare it against. And I realized very quickly I'm not seeing any waypoints whatsoever. I'm just like wandering in the Andes. There are no other people there. There's no fork where I'm supposed to take a left or right. It's just like this like little tiny dirt trail through the mountains. So I get thirsty. There's a stream. I fill up my little thermos with water, and it's mud brown. Like you just can't see through it. And so I'm like, well, I don't know if this like sterilizing pen is really even going to work, because how's the UV going to get through the mud? So I'm like stirring it around. Turns out I left the cap on, so I probably wasn't even doing anything. I drink the mud water. It's disgusting, so I don't really want to drink water, so I quickly become dehydrated. I start to eat the bars, but it's like frozen because it's so cold there. So they're like rock hard. They taste disgusting, so I don't want to eat them. So I'm starving and thirsty. I end up like, I have to go up through this mountain. It's like this mountain pass. It starts hailing. I've got like hail in my face, freezing cold. And like, I have a video of it actually, I think on this YouTube channel, and it's pretty hilarious because I'm like, well, I'm probably not going to die, but don't really understand how I'm going to get out of this situation. It was like, I can't even just turn around because I took the car or whatever, the truck, like through a full day. So I would still have to walk days the other way. So nighttime comes. I still haven't seen a single waypoint that I was supposed to see. I'm exhausted. It's pitch black. I don't have a flashlight. So I'm like walking by moonlight, but it's also in a valley, so there's not that much moonlight. So I'm like, okay, I need a place to sleep. But I had gone to the bottom of the valley and it's all mud. So there was nowhere I could even put a tent. So I just keep walking in the mud. Finally, I find this field that has these horses in it, and it's like a little bit raised up. So I was like, okay, well, I could set it up there. So I set up my tent, but I never tested it before. And it's this crazy tent that needs like tension to stay up. And so it's like not really working. It's basically the size of me. It's like a coffin, and it's like low across my body, except where my head is. There's like this little area. So I have a pounding headache from the altitude. I'm like lying down like this in the tent, and I try to fall asleep. I'm still freezing. And as I'm like falling asleep, I'm sort of thinking, can horses see at night? Like, are they just going to trample me while I'm sleeping? Because I just look like a log or something. I don't even, what's going to stop them from trampling me. But I'm so exhausted. I think literally I had the thought, probably if I get trampled, I would die quickly and it wouldn't be that bad. I just wouldn't notice. So I'm just, I try to fall asleep. Then all of a sudden I wake up and I hear noises, and there's some sort of animal outside my tent. And it occurs to me that I never thought to like look up what kind of animals are out there. So I'm like, what kind of animals are in South America? Maybe there's like jaguars, or maybe there's tigers, or maybe it's a rabbit. Like, who knows what is out there? But there's nothing I can do because I'm like just like wrapped up in this little thing. So I'm just lying there, and this thing is like going around me, and I can hear it like brushing up against the tent and hitting the little like wires that are, the ropes that are holding this thing up. Then it knocks one of them over, and so the whole tent falls on me. So I'm literally just like wrapped up in parachute silk, essentially on the ground like this. Finally, and I have to admit, it was stunningly beautiful in the Andes, all by myself. There's some horses in the distance. There's a full moon, like casting rays over the other mountain. Really, really cool. Next morning, woke up, felt reinvigorated, still didn't want to eat the food, still didn't want to drink the water, so I was feeling really bad. After about an hour, I'm like done with this hike. And the story was with this hike that there was like nowhere to stop, so I had to go the rest of the way. But I think I went the wrong way because I came across some little hut. So I come across this hut, and I go in, and in my like not very good Spanish, I'm like, hey, like, do you have food? And she says yes. I said, okay, what do you have? And she asks what I want, and I'm like anything. She's like, okay, how about rice, an egg, and a potato? I was like, oh, okay, I guess I would never order that, but fine. So I'm sitting in this little one-room shack. There's a big weaving loom there. There's no other people. It's not like a restaurant. She gives me this plate of food, super delicious. I'm eating this food. And then this bus comes out of nowhere. I thought there were no roads that went to this area. And so I ask her, I'm like, hey, where's that bus going? And she says the name of some random city I've never heard of. And I say, oh, can I go with you? Can I go with them? And she says, yeah, $5. I said, okay. And I said, can I just like sit here and wait? She says, yeah. So I'm just sitting in this room. Another bus comes. I say, oh, where's that one going? She gives me some other place. And she says, oh, that one's leaving in half hour. I say, okay, I'll go on that one. So went on that bus, fell asleep, woke up and this, like, it was a tour, and there's like this tour guide, and all the people are just sort of looking at me like, I think he's awake. And I'm like, oh, hey, what's going on? Where am I? Anyway, they asked where my tour guide was. I said, oh, I just went by myself. They said, oh, where's your stuff? I said, oh, I just have this. And the tour guide just like bursts out laughing. He's like, man, you are insane. Like, you definitely should not be doing this. So I think they took pity on me. They took me on the rest of their tour for free. We got to see Machu Picchu. It ended up pretty good. Anyway, sorry, kind of long story, but that's one of my crazy travel stories. If you look on the YouTube channel, I have a video from the very beginning of it. And it's pretty funny because you can sort of like see where I'm like, huh, this is like a really bad idea. Unless there's unanimous consent amongst the group. So that way, if I die and I had a son and he was a real jerk, then he can own it and he could like sell it to somebody else, but he can't just like ruin the place for everybody. We've never had anybody sell it. We make it really hard to sell. Actually, we did have one person sell. One friend wanted to buy into Hawaii and this friend wanted to buy in Japan but couldn't afford it. So he sort of like did a little trade. But the idea is that that's part of why we keep it so cheap, is that 10K is like not going to be enough that like it's going to be the difference between someone being able to like buy a primary home or not, essentially. So yeah, Jonas, there's no safe way out, basically. The safe way out is that it's cheap, relatively cheap, and that the monthly fees are so low that it's pretty easy to deal with. For upkeep and reserves, I try to keep a little buffer when we buy the place of like just a few $1,000 extra, because you never know if we're going to need extra furniture or something. And then we do a monthly fee, whether you use it or not. So I think the cheapest one is $50. Most expensive ones, maybe 100. Maybe Brian can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know at the top of my head. And we've had to adjust it a little bit. Hawaii, the HOA is really expensive. And so we had to tick that one up by like $20 once. We try to make it so that the properties make a little bit of money every year. And then we can store that in like the bank account in case we need it. I just track the expenses in Excel, basically, or not Excel, Google Docs. And to be honest, it's pretty shoddy bookkeeping. Everything big goes in there, but like probably most of the people who use the thing actively, like, you know, I probably don't log every expense I have. Brian, who's in here, is notorious for like never logging expenses. The things he's bought for these places and has not gotten paid back for is kind of absurd. But you know, that's sort of just how it is. You know, nobody really cares too much. Let's see, what other type projects do I have with my friends? I bought a boat with a friend. In Vegas, we took over one apartment neighborhood where we bought all of our own apartments. And then now we have a new neighborhood where we're buying up houses. So we have 3 of the houses. We're not going to ever take that one over, but just moving into the same area. Yeah, that's an interesting question, Jesse, about how it would impact local markets. Because I do think Airbnb is a pretty big net negative for a lot of places, which I didn't see coming. I thought it was like a really positive thing at first. And now I see what it's done, like to Budapest. I think you can tell that it's kind of like screwed it up a little bit. Yeah, I like to believe that because the same people come back over and over again to these properties, that we're positives in the community. I really do think that's true. Like we have a lot of friends there, like people like that we're there. You know, we support the local businesses. But I don't know, like, is that really better than having a local neighbor? I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it's a valid question. I think it's maybe one of those things where we don't really know until it catches on more, you know. I hope it catches on more. It's like one of these crazy things where I'm like, I think everybody should do this. Not everybody, but it's just like such a good way to do it. Great point with Brian. Considers loose bookkeeping, people contributing things with personal funds a feature. I agree. Like I think there, especially been times like when, I think now, especially with the island, like a decade in, or has it been a decade? Almost a decade in, like now I think we're all doing pretty well that we can afford stuff. But in the beginning, there was definitely more of a discrepancy. And I think like people like Brian, who had like more money at the time, really made things easier for other people, and kind of like, I think mostly accelerated our timeline more than anything. Probably about like a year or two. Yeah, scale limits is interesting. Great question, Paul. I don't know that I've really, Roman, what's up, man? Haven't talked to you in a long time. So our groups are 6 is the smallest one, and the island is like 10 or 11 people, depending on how you count it. My aunt and my cousin bought a share together. I actually think you could go bigger than that. I like having a smaller group. I think it's kind of cool. But when I first started it, there was definitely some concern, which I think is probably why people are asking, that like, oh, what if everybody wants to go to Budapest at the same time and it gets totally full and I can't go, but I own this property that I can't use. And that really hasn't been the case at all. I think maybe if it was like, if you all lived in LA and you bought a Vegas place, maybe everybody would want to go every weekend or something. But with these more remote places, what actually happens is we're constantly trying to convince each other to go. So it's like, hey, I'm going to Japan. Who wants to come with me? We've never even really come close to hitting capacity. We also have this rule that, it's not really a rule, but there's sort of this unspoken rule that if you use the property more, you yield to other people. So for example, I was going to Budapest a lot, and one of my friends wanted to go with his mother, and I said, hey, look, I'll just leave. I'll get a hotel. I really don't care. As it turned out, I ended up staying with them and showing them around, but it would have been totally fine. Brian is staying in Hawaii for the month right now, and he just said, hey, if anybody wants to visit and they want time apart, no problem. I'll just get my own apartment. Let's see. So couples don't count. The way it works is anybody who buys a share has a key to the place, essentially. So for example, I have a key to the place and my wife doesn't. If we go by ourselves, if we go together, totally fine. You can bring unlimited friends, no problem. But she can't go without me, or she would have to buy a share. You know, I think you could make an argument for doing it either way, but that's just how we decided to do it. I think a lot of it is that couples in our group tend to be fairly independent, and so it kind of would be like 2 people. For furnishing, what we try to do is we try to make it extremely comfortable for one person and then reasonably comfortable for more. So for example, in Budapest, we have, there's like a big bedroom upstairs. We have 2 twin beds that can be joined together with like a clamp kind of thing to make a huge king bed. But then we also have a bunk bed with a trundle in the tiny little bedroom that's next to it. So it's like, we could separate those and have 5 beds plus a couch downstairs. And this place is tiny. It's like 500, 600 square feet. Or like if I just go with my wife, we get a king size bed. Hilo, we have 2 queen on queen bunk beds, which is pretty cool. I didn't even know those existed. Fatima, we bought in Tokyo, specifically right near the Nakano Sakaue station. Tokyo was the hardest one by far because there's actually, it's not like Budapest where there's sort of like a center of the city, or maybe 2 if you count Buda and Pest. There's like a billion places that would be good based on, you know, the difference, like where the train stations are. So Nakano Sakaue was a good one for us. To manage keys, we have lock boxes at each one of the places. And then I also have one. Do I still have all the keys? I think I have 1 copy of every key at my house, just in case we lose it, I could fly it back in. And then I also got into locksmithing last year. So I started altering some of the keys so that my house key could unlock them, but then we could still use the normal key too. But then I moved, and in Europe and Asia, they don't use the same keyway. So that plan didn't really work. Thanks, Fatima. Cool. Yeah, I love it. I'm psyched that people are inspired by this. Like when I first started talking about it, I was really worried it was going to come off as like a braggy sort of like, hey, look at me, look at all this property I have. But really the message I want to convey is that actually you can do this like much, you know, I think people don't think it's crazy if you buy a used $10,000 car, but they do think it's crazy if you buy a $10,000 share of an island. And to me, there's a discrepancy there because the island I think you get a lot, well, it's different value, but it will appreciate, it'll last for your life, whereas the car will die eventually. Maybe we should talk about finances a little bit. It seems like a lot of people are asking questions about that. It doesn't have to be property related. I went through a huge transition in this past year about finances and interest and all that. I used to never take debt for anything. Zero debt, wouldn't take a loan even if it was 1%. And I've definitely changed my mind on that big time. And I think that the world has changed enough where the scales have tipped. So student loans, sorry, just scrolled off. What are your student loan rates, if you don't mind me asking? You don't have to tell us the amount or anything. Just curious, Noah, like, just because I don't know what student loan rates are these days. $4%. Cool. So I would never pay off a 4% loan. I would try to keep that loan for my entire life. And the reason is that and actually I wouldn't say my entire life. If things change, then there's a situation where maybe I would pay it off. But right now it's trivially easy to make 8 to 9% with very, very, very little risk. So if you can borrow at 4%, then you could just take that money and earn 8%, and then you're getting 4% on that float, right? So I do crypto yield. I don't know if it's yield farming, but yeah, I have all my crypto earning interest right now. I stake Ethereum. I have BlockFi, Ledin.io, stuff like that, Celsius. 8% I probably wouldn't do. I think you can't reliably make more than 8%. And basically I don't want to pay a guaranteed 8% for a maybe 8%, if that makes sense. Let's see. 5.3% and 7%. 7% I would probably try to pay that off. 5.3 is really on the border. I think it really depends, like, your risk tolerance and what you have access to. The way I make 8 to 9% myself, one, I have a friend who does real estate development in New Orleans. This is a guy I trust with my life, which is probably true of most of my friends. And so if I loan him money at 8%, he pays it back, sort of like an income. He pays back the interest and then pays back the bulk at the end. And I just know he'll pay me back. So you can also buy stable coins like USDC, what are the other ones called? DAI, stuff like that. And places like BlockFi will give you 8.6% on them. Places like DYDX, you can get a variable rate that ends up being even higher than that sometimes. You could argue that that's not risk-free, and I would agree, but I think for me, it's low enough risk that I'm willing to do it. So Fatima, even if you've used the money, the question then is, let's say you have a $10,000 student loan at 4%. And let's say you get $1,000 and you're trying to decide, should I pay that loan back or not? I would personally use it and earn 8% and just keep paying the 4%. So it's sort of like when you're making that decision to pay it back or not, that's when you can make that decision. I think there's also an interesting question of, if I had 0 of these properties and I had, let's say, $10,000 sort of above and beyond, like, safety reserve and runway, whatever you want to call it. I just had an excess $10,000. And I was thinking, do I want to invest it? Do I want to pay off a 4% debt? Do I want to buy property with my friends? Do I want to buy a Rolex? I think I would say I would buy property with my friends. And the reason I would do that is because I think the utility, that $10,000, let's say you're going to earn $800 per year on that stable interest. I think the benefit to me to own an island with my friends is worth way more than $800 a year. And I wrote a post on that a while back. It's something called like getting value on utility or something. And the idea is that when we're all competing to earn on stocks or something, that's a zero-sum market, and we're all competing for that edge. So the yield you can get lowers because somebody's willing to do it for 7, someone's willing to do it for 6 or whatever, and that gets driven down. But there's sort of unlimited opportunity to have like amazing experiences with your friends. So there, I think you can get a lot more utility, you can get a lot more value out of your money. So it's things like that I look at. Moment maker, I've heard of these things. I'm skeptical, but I do have I think I also wrote a post called something like this once, where it's like, if it sounds good to be true, too good to be true, go check, because maybe it's not. If you wanted to email me stuff about that, I'd be interested in reading about it. I don't know enough about it to say anything. My favorite crypto by far is Ethereum. I've been into Ethereum for a really long time, and to me, it's and look, I'm not a super expert, right? Like Moment Maker's talking about yield farming. I obviously don't know much about that. So there's stuff I don't know. That said, I have been in it for a long time. I do know some stuff about it. And to me, Ethereum is a very clear, obvious candidate to be a winner in the long term. And so I don't care about what goes up in the next month. I don't care, it just doesn't matter to me. What I think about is which of these coins is likely to be a big part of the future. And it seems obvious to me that Ethereum will be a big part of the future. Okay, Chainlink, I'm going to check it out. If you think about it, could you email me, Tynan@Tynan.com? Because I might forget, because there's just so much going on. And I really would be interested in learning about it. Caesar, what's up, man? Good to see you. I'm a big fan. Yeah, so that's actually a big part that he brings up, Ethereum 2.0. So Ethereum 2.0 is basically moving from proof of work, which is what you hear about, that's burning all these computer resources, all this electricity, to something called proof of stake. Fatima, you won the NFT. That's so cool. Or the Nifty, I guess you're supposed to say. Wow, that's so cool. I missed that live stream. I was so pissed. So I'm a big fan of Ethereum 2.0. Part of why I like Ethereum so much is that Vitalik has made so many tough decisions. Vitalik's the guy who runs, he's in charge of Ethereum. He invented it. I haven't met him, but a lot of my friends have. He's made a lot of really tough decisions for Ethereum, and they've been really controversial at times, and they've been right. I mean, we never know if a decision's been right or not, but they've worked out really well, and the logic was really good. So I trust him to usher Ethereum into the future. So Ethereum 2.0 is staking. I personally stake on my server, which is kind of cool. I do it by myself. And I think it's very, very likely to be part of the future. So I'm a big fan of Ethereum 2.0. And I don't really think much about is it going to go up to 2,000? Is it going to go up to 3,000? I think, is it going to be part of the future? And if so, probably I'm going to benefit by being part of it. Paul, okay, how would I approach property buying and investing differently if I was in a high cost of living city? So I think the obvious choice is to move out. I know not everybody can do that. I know not everybody wants to do that, but I think it's something people don't consider enough. So I think it's worth considering. And I had a coaching client who was thinking about it, and I said, look, try to be as honest with yourself as you can. Pick 5 places, pick crazy places too. What if you live in Hawaii? What if you lived in Paris? I guess that's not low cost. Budapest. Misha, yeah, it'll upgrade. And then write out the pros and cons for those, because I think what people often do is they overvalue the pros of where they live now, and they don't really think I didn't even know about all the pros in Vegas because I didn't research it enough. So I think it's worth considering. If you're not going to move, because I know some people won't, it's too big of a change. There's a job reason why you can't move and you don't want to get a different job. What I would do is I would have the smallest footprint you could possibly have in the high cost of living city. And then I would look for low cost of living cities and get awesome places there. So for example, I lived in San Francisco in my RV. That thing was 150 square feet or 100 square feet or something tiny. I lived behind a gas station where one of the people who owned it tried to sell me crack once. So it's not nice, but it was a convenient location. And then I had a private island, and did we have another property while I was there? I'm not sure. Budapest, kind of forget the timeline. Might have had Budapest then. So you can balance it, right? So like, to me, the additional money spent in San Francisco wasn't going to be worth it, because what I liked about San Francisco at the time was basically access to the people who lived there. And there's other stuff too, obviously. There's a lot of great stuff about San Francisco. But what was keeping me there was the people. And so I thought, okay, well, I can have the people, even if I live in my car behind this gas station. But then if I want big space, nature, I can have the island, or if I want, like a nice city where I can afford like really expensive food or whatever, I can go to Budapest. Like in San Francisco, I would go to the ballet like once a year, and it was like $150. In Budapest, I go like every day because it's $20. So that's sort of how I would look at that. Just in general of making decisions, I think like, okay, I think too often people try to find something that's the best overall fit, rather than thinking like, how do I maximize something here and then make up for the downsides in a big way somewhere else. So I live in Vegas right now, which in most categories I think is the best place to live in the US, but let's be honest, it has some big downsides. It's super hot in the summer. I have fewer friends here than I do in other cities. So I make up for that in various ways, traveling during the summer, buying a boat so I can go on the lake, flying back to San Francisco whenever I want to see my friends there. People have invited me, Brian, who's here right now, invited me to dinner one time. And so I just flew over for dinner. Fatima, yeah, I think those are overrated. I agree. I don't think it's a zero, but I think in a lot of cases, those benefits are overrated. I could be wrong. It could be different for situations, but I found that I've missed those things less in moving out of San Francisco than I thought I would. I think, so one interesting thing is that the big cities, there are more activities, but they're more expensive and they're more annoying to do. There's parking, there's traffic, they're expensive. So, you live in an island? What island do you live in? That's awesome. So in Vegas, there are maybe in some ways fewer activities, or there's certainly like less culture, but everything is so easy that I end up doing more stuff. So like, I think the best of the best restaurants in San Francisco are maybe better than Vegas, but here I can just do them all. Like my wife and I go out to like world-class restaurants every week, and it's like easy and not as expensive. So I find that the range of activities that I want to do in Vegas are bigger. We're going to go skiing this week. We go to the lakes. I think there's kind of better stuff. Yeah, dude, seriously, Alex, I was in Honolulu and I left early and just hung out at the airport because it was like so annoying. Like I think in some ways I liked it more because it's so beautiful, but then Waikiki and like the downtown area was so annoying that I gave up and I left. Hold on, somebody had a good question I wanted to answer. Oh, favorite tea shops and cafes in Vegas. Vince, oh man, I recognize you too. Dude, it's so cool to see all these people that I recognize from my blog. Go to Tea and Whisk. I don't know if you can have tea in there yet, but there's a real tea shop in Vegas. It's so cool, Tea and Whisk. If you emailed him, you could probably do a tea tasting. Tell him that you're my friend. The trick for Vegas for cool co-working spots or just like open spots is just go to a casino. They have huge areas. Like if you go upstairs in like the Cosmo, for example, or like go to Aria, walk around upstairs, they have all these giant areas that have like couches and Wi-Fi and plugs. And you can just go hang out there and there's nobody there. And they're like pretty beautiful spaces in a lot of cases. So I would do that. Wow, Fatima, that's so cool. Really, really cool. Yeah, totally agree, Brian. Like everything's going remote first. So like, the big cities now are having a lot of people move to Austin and Vegas because they're sort of like second tier cities where it's easier to live, but you can still get back to big places. Denny is asking about, let's talk about investing and stuff like that. George, hold on quick. Yeah, let's see. Okay, a few questions. I'm gonna do rapid fire. Ecological footprint, I do think about it. And it's a tough one, to be honest. Like, I don't think I have an answer. So I have solar power here. I think I have a lower footprint than people think I have. But it is something I think about, and it's something I may make some changes on. So yeah, thinking about it. I like Vegas better than Hawaii as a place to live as a main place, but I mean, there's so many things in Hawaii that you just can't, Vegas doesn't have. I mean, and I think that that's really the idea, is that the world is such a beautiful big place that why do we choose one or the other when we can really experience all of them? That's the biggest thing I've really liked COVID, the lockdown. I've learned a lot and had a good experience, but that's what I've missed, is feeling like I have this like really big world where I have these European experiences and Asian experiences and Hawaiian experiences. And now it's like, a lot of hanging out in Vegas at my house. So Denny's asking, besides my all-weather funds, do I have a percentage allocation to risky and active moves? Yeah, most of my money's in crypto. And it wasn't always like that, but just the way crypto has risen, it's gotten that way. And I am sort of unwilling to sell because I just believe in it so much. So it's a weird position where I'm probably wrong, because I would not tell somebody to put the maximum, like I wouldn't tell people to put more than 50% of their net worth in crypto. However, that's my situation and I'm unwilling to change it. I do a few other risky things. I mean, that's like such an overwhelming percentage of my portfolio that I don't look for other risky stuff. I invest in friends' businesses in some limited cases. I have a pretty interesting stock thing I did it was an options play that will end in January 2022. So if you ask me about it then, I'll tell you how it turned out. And it's a weird kind of thing where it's like almost a guaranteed 3x return, which sounds crazy. And if somebody else told me that, I would say, well, you clearly don't understand it. But we'll see. You can ask me about it. How did I make money initially? So various ways. I've written a bunch of books for a while. That was my main source of income. Cruise Sheet was doing really well up until COVID, then it started tanking. I do coaching, obviously. I do some live events, stuff like that. Way back in the day, I would like buy and sell stuff on eBay. I was a professional gambler for a very long time. I was a poker player for a while. But I think that basically I just save money. Like I've just always lived well below my means. So even in I think people always think I make a lot of money, but the truth is I just had not very many expenses, and I would just invest money and it would multiply. And I don't think I'm like some genius investor or anything like that, but I do think I'm very good at assessing risk, and I have a lot of good friends and access to good investments. So yeah, that's sort of it. For a while, it used to be sort of like, a third would be like books and stuff like that. A third would be like Cruise Sheet, coaching, but it kind of goes up and down. I do kind of miss poker. It's funny because ever since I moved to Vegas, I haven't really gone. I played in the World Series one more time and realized I hadn't practiced enough to be competitive. The thing I miss about poker is playing with a friend, and we would go and we'd learn, and then we'd sort of analyze it and grow. And now I feel like it's not quite worth doing for the money. And it's not I don't want to spend my whole day at a casino by myself, so I don't play. But I do miss it. Fatima, yeah, I feel like I've lived so many different lives too. I think back to the pickup days, and it's man, it feels like a movie when I think about that. It doesn't even feel like it was me, to be honest. As George says, I calculated how much I saved by living in my RV, and it was $150K, which is crazy because that's a lot of money. And I honestly feel like I kind of I don't know that I actually had $150K at the end of that in my bank account, but it wasn't just an abstract number. I really had saved a lot of money from doing that. The story behind Better Than Your Boyfriend is an interesting one. And you must be here for a long time if you recognize that. So I had this idea sort of after the pickup days. The big thing I realized was that I'd gotten really good at attracting people and sort of understanding like how women thought and like understanding the interactions between men and women. But I was really no better off at actually like finding women I was interested in, because I don't drink and I don't really party. I don't like any of that stuff. So I would go to these clubs. And one of the big realizations I had was that even in my 1 year or whatever in LA of meeting, I don't know, like thousands of women probably to some degree, there wasn't a single one that I thought I would be with long term. And so I was trying to think of like how I could, and I'm weird, and what I look for is probably a little bit weird. So I had this idea that I was going to make a flyer that was basically a personals ad. And this sounds kind of lame. This is kind of before online dating. And it was going to be like, hi, my name's Tynan. I'm weird in these sorts of ways. Here's what I'm into. Here's what I'm looking for. Please go to this website and fill out a form and maybe we'll date. And so I was talking to a friend and I was like, I need to have a website on it where you pull these little things off. What should I call it? And he's like, betterthanyourboyfriend.com. And I thought it was so hilarious that I registered the domain name immediately. And then I never ended up doing it. I think I ended up dating somebody or something. I can't really remember. But that was about when I started my blog. I forget why I switched to it. I think I just thought it was a hilarious name. And so I switched to betterthanyourboyfriend.com. And then actually, like you guys know the survey I just did last week or whatever, 2 weeks ago, I did a survey on the blog and I said like, hey, which of my blog posts, did you share with friends was one of the questions. And so many people said like, oh, I wanted to share your posts, but I'm never going to share it because the domain name is so embarrassing. So I think at that point I switched to Tynan.net. That was before I had the .com or something like that. Let's see. Yeah, there's a whole book about living in RV, Tiniest Mansion. Thank you, Noah. Actually, I wrote that book on a single flight round trip from SF to New York because Brian, who's here today, bought an RV and he was asking me all these questions. And I was like, look, if I'm going to write all this, let me just put it in a book form so you can just read it all at once. You can look back. And I thought nobody would buy it, but I thought, for fun, I'll just make it into a book. And a lot of people bought it. It was crazy. More people bought that than some of my other books. And it's not that well written. I just sort of threw it together. Who knows? You never know. I'm not very good at predicting what people will like and what they won't. Good question, Alex. People spend a lot of time thinking about dating. Do you think people relatively underinvest in relationship development? Yes, big time. I think social skills and relationships are like what everybody should be. Yeah, guys, how do I block somebody? I got to block Leo. This is another funny story that Leo has this terrible zenhabits.net. For years, I was bugging him to get the .com. For years, I'm like, get the .com. And it was like this big thing where this super spammy, even spammier than Leo, this guy had the .com. And Leo like hated being associated with this guy. I'm like, you got to buy it. You got to buy it. Finally, he buys it, this big hassle. And then he doesn't even switch to it. Drives me crazy. Anyway, social skills. I think it's so valuable. I think it's more valuable than almost anything anybody learns these days. I see people with good social skills and I see people with bad social skills, and I see the difference in see true your roots. I see the difference in life outcomes, like not just like friend outcomes, but like life outcomes. And it matters so much, and yet people don't invest in it, and it drives me wild. And I think I'm very sensitive to it too. I noticed that as I wrote the book, I became even more sensitive to it, where like now when people have bad social skills, it like drives me nuts to a point where I'm thinking about like working on this myself because maybe it bothers me too much. So that was why I wrote the book, Superhuman Social Skills. I'm not trying to sell the book, buy it or pirate it or whatever. It doesn't matter. But I was sort of bummed that more people didn't buy the book because I think my habit book is really good. That was my most popular book by far. But I also think that there are other books that are, in the same league that could teach you. Maybe it's a slightly different method, but it's going to like teach you similar sort of things. But I don't really think that there are other good social skills books. So that's why I felt like it was like a more important thing to write. So I wish more people bought that one. So anybody who's asking how, please just read Superhuman Social Skills. I'm not trying to sell the book. You can steal it or pirate it or whatever. I don't really care. I just think that I think it matters, and I think I did a good job writing the book. And it's like everything I have to say about it, I put in that book in sort of a systematic way. Let's see. Yeah, I think money skills are probably second most important, but social skills first. So Fatima, I'm not surprised Fatima has good social skills. She's like so cool and so active in Noah's live stream and here too, so I'm not surprised. And by the way, yeah, Farrell was asking, actually a bunch of people are asking, even if you are an introvert, read Superhuman Social Skills or whatever I called it. That's who I am. I'm a super introverted. That's the point of view that I'm coming from. Yeah. So please read it. It's funny. David mentions the audiobook. When I recorded the audiobook, I recorded it in my aunt and uncle's basement. I took all their couch cushions, made like a recording booth that I was like hiding in here. And I recorded the whole thing. And I found out that people pay based on how long it is. If it's longer, people have to pay more. And I didn't want to rip people off. And so I was like, okay, well, I better I don't want to talk really slowly like this, because then people are going to have to pay more money. So I talk quickly. And then the number one thing that people complain about is that I talk too fast in the audiobook. What can you do? Thanks, Caesar. I never want to when I recognize people from the events, I never want to be like, hey, this person signed up for my event. But Caesar was at one of my events in Vegas. I think that was my favorite event, actually. I shouldn't say that in case other people are here. Caesar is awesome. He was such a cool guy at the event. I had so much fun. And that was like such a fun event. I really, really enjoyed that one. One of the things I miss most from, I'm not trying to sell people on anything, do whatever you want, but I love the real life events, and I can't wait to do them again when it opens. Somebody asked what I worry about. I don't worry about anything. What's the point? I really don't worry about anything. Actionable tips you have for retraining your mind. So I don't meditate anymore. I did for a while, and I do wonder if it sort of flipped a switch in my brain and helped me. I do once in a while, actually, I'd say, but not often. I think the biggest thing for retraining your mind is probably, you already realized this if you're even asking the question, but I think most people don't realize that you can shift your preferences, you can shift how you see the world easily. Not easily, but like it's, you can do it in a month. You can't do it in a day, you can do it in a month, or maybe 2 months. And I think one of the big realizations I had is that usually it's not like you need to go from like -10 to 10. Usually let's say, for example, you're a pessimist and you want to be an optimist. You're probably at like a -1, and you really only need to get to a +1 to be optimist. So it's sort of like if you're in debt a little bit, it keeps snowballing until it's a problem, versus if you just save a little bit, eventually you save enough to where it's worth saving money, or you can do something with it. It's the same sort of thing with training your mind. So I think just knowing sometimes that it's not that big of a shift makes it a little bit more approachable. Jonas, is it Jonas or Jonas? How do I pronounce that? I feel like probably whichever way I'm saying it, I'm probably doing it wrong. I've never done any drugs. I've never taken Advil. That's it. So I'm against drugs generally. I think that the dangers of them are overstated generally. So I'm like, legalize marijuana, legalize everything. I'm all for it. I've never even had alcohol, but I think in general, any effect you want from any of these things, there's a better way to get it. It's and look, I've never done anything, so I'm an idiot. Could be wrong, but that's where I'm coming from. So if I was going to take any drugs, they would be psychedelics. I think that the data on them is the most convincing that there is some benefit. What keeps me from doing it is that I don't have a problem to solve. To be really honest, there's nothing I want from them. So, if I felt like I had some big problem that LSD or mushrooms was likely to solve, I would be open to it. But yeah, that doesn't really interest me. I do not find entertainment in watching my friends use drugs or drink. I avoid it. I love my friends for who they are. I feel like when people do drugs or drink, they act like somebody else. So like in high school, when my friends got into pot and drinking, I'd hang out with them. As soon as they started drinking, I would just leave. I don't want to be around it. If somebody has a beer with dinner or whatever, I don't really care. But my friends also don't really drink or do drugs. Really, like I can't remember the last time I've seen a friend drunk or anything like that. Roman, yeah, I'm definitely gonna do this regularly. Like really, I was like, okay, if 50 people show up, I'll do it regularly. There's been like 100 people total. So yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it. Wow, Fatima, I feel like I don't really know you, but I wouldn't have guessed that you would be into psychedelics. Maybe it's the headscarf, I don't know. Yeah, that's what people say, but I don't want my game changed. I like my game. I mean, really, that's like what it comes down to. Here's the other thing. I see people that do it. No Dogecoin. Dogecoin is garbage. I think it's going to go to zero. I've seen people that do psychedelics, and I see the benefits that they think that they've received, and they think that their life has changed, and I think that they're wrong. So that's really what it, like they say, oh, my life has changed. I've learned this. And I think that's the wrong thing. You've learned the wrong thing. And then I see what happens. I just don't think it leads to good outcomes. And I think it leads sometimes to people thinking they have good outcomes. And that's really what worries me the most, is I wouldn't want to be a part of that. Well, I fixed the bug on my blog where fast reading folks get jumped back to the top as it loads. Ooh. Didn't know that. Yeah, could you email me and maybe give me some more info on that? I didn't realize there was a bug. I have started getting into, I've started trying to fix a few set bugs and stuff. I also feel like some people aren't getting the post as emails. So if that's you, let me know also, please. Leo, did you get the email this week? I meant to message you. I think you should have, but let me know. I agree, George. I think Fatima's super cool. I got to know her a tiny bit in Noah's live stream, and I feel like, yeah, everything she posts is cool. Oh, yeah, sorry. There was a bug with double emails, I think, for the past few weeks. I think I fixed it. If you get a double email next week, please let me know. I think I fixed it. Yeah, I've thought about switching to WordPress. I don't know, man. Oh, you didn't see the email. All right, I'll message you later, Leo. We'll try to figure it out. I'll double check to make sure it got sent too. I just saw it in the queue. I probably should switch to something, to be totally honest. The problem is I made Set because of all these issues that these other ones have, and they still haven't fixed the problems, and I still love Set, but I don't really love dealing with it. So I don't know. It's like one of these things where the pain of sticking with Set, it still isn't enough to switch, and like the benefits of the other ones aren't enough. I don't know, man. Yeah, Dieter, you said you were going to send me cookies. What happened? I ate like half of Noah's though. They really are like the best. This is going to be sponsored by Dieter's daughter's cookies, Cookie Mama. I tried to not eat a lot of sugar. They are so good that I ate like half of them at Noah's house. We ate so many cookies. Jonas, yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm really amped for some from community stuff too. I love all of you guys, and would love for people to be more connected, even without me, also to be more connected to me. I think that would be really cool. Oh, they're en route. Yes, can't wait. Webflow might be a better choice. Programming experience, don't have to worry about hosting. Okay, Webflow, I'll check that out. Hey, if you want to, let's see, I have to deal with Meta for the next. Oh yeah. Any suggestions you guys have for me, especially stuff we talk about? Please email me. I'm not trying to offload me just taking notes, but that way it'll just make it easier than for me to be distracted and write stuff down. So Webflow, I'd be interested. Please email me if you think about it. Small change, Denny. You have so many good questions. Yeah, I totally agree. Like the whole reason I made Set was for the community stuff. A bunch of people said that in the survey. It's like, hey, you made this whole platform for community and comments, and now you don't have any of them. So it's a good point. I do feel like I would rather have discussion off the blog than on it. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. Thinking about it. Small change in the last 90 days that had a strangely satisfying impact. What is a small change I've made recently? Let me think about that. Oh, actually, I have a really good one. So my brother came by my house in Vegas, and to be fair, he kind of came by unexpectedly. I thought I had a few days before he got there, and then he needed a place to stay, so he decided to stay with us. And we were in the process of moving, and I had boxes of stuff everywhere. And my brother was just like, he's like, well, man, we got to organize your place. And I was like, oh, do we really have to organize my place? And we spent 6 hours organizing the whole place. Everything is like, it was really interesting. He did like a better job than I would have done by myself. Even like, look back here, my tea shelf, like all these are in order. I don't know if you can see. See, I'll scroll up a little bit. You can see. Oh, whoops. Actually, I don't have my camera on there. All right. Anyway. And I really appreciated so much all this time that he spent making my place nice. And so I've kept it clean. And it's like one of these things where I'm like, I really have my life together to a pretty high degree. And yet I don't keep my place super tidy. So that's something I'm working on, that my brother like really sparked that. And it's been 3 weeks or a month, and it's maybe he had it to a 10 out of 10. And it's like a 9 out of 10 now. But even today, like I have a few things in this room I'm going to clean up. So that was a big one. So I got PRK, not LASIK. This is kind of a funny story. So I feel like it's not as good as it was when I first got it. I got it in 2007 or 2008. And, I noticed, like, especially at night, like I'm working on my computer and my vision was a little more blurry. And so one of my friends just got PRK here in Vegas, and he's like someone like me, does a lot of research. And he's like, I found this guy's one of the best in the country. It's a really good price. Here's the referral code, so it's cheap. I thought, okay, I'll go get like an exam and just see like, what I can do. The thing about PRK versus LASIK is that it leaves your eyes in a state where they can always redo it because your eye regrows back. You don't have the flap from LASIK. So I go in and they have all these tests where they're like measuring your cornea thickness and all this kind of stuff. And then they do the standard eye test, like the EMZ0P thing. And so I'm doing that. They're like, okay, read the top line, read the third line, read the fourth line. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. And then I'm like ready for the fifth line. And then they switch. They're like, okay, read the first line. I'm like, what kind of stupid eye test is this if you never ask me to read the hard ones? So they finish, and I'm just waiting in the waiting room, and they come back and they're like, so sorry, but you're not eligible for PRK. And I'm like, oh no, like what happened? Maybe I had a problem with my eyes. Maybe like the cornea didn't grow back thick enough. And they said, you have 20/20 vision. What do you need PRK for? And so I told them, I said, yeah, but my vision's not that good at night. And basically they said, you're getting old. Like once you get old, your eyes can't focus as well. So I guess and I've noticed that like in the morning it's better, and then at night it gets worse. And they said, yeah, your eyes just get fatigued when you're old. So proof that I'm old, unfortunately. It's actually probably good that the cookies aren't here yet, because my friends own 2 companies in San Francisco, Dandelion Chocolate and Three Babes Bake Shop. And Dandelion Chocolate is like the best chocolate in the world. And then Three Babes Bake Shop is really like the best pies in the world. And so they did a pie together. And so I ordered one, and every day I have a tiny little slice. So it's, normally I have 0 desserts in the house. Right now I have a whole pie. So it's probably best to wait for the cookies. Don't have a standing desk. I actually do have a standing desk. Some really awesome reader worked for like Ergo Depot. And when I moved to Vegas, they just sent me like a full office worth of stuff. And one of them was a standing desk. And I love the desk, but I never use it standing. I find it too distracting and annoying. I have an Aeron, which, maybe there's better chairs, but for me, It's been really good. I don't worry about carpal tunnel syndrome. I don't know, man. Like, I just don't. Here's my theory, and I'm not a medical expert. I don't know anything. Here's my theory. You eat healthy, you exercise, you drink tea, you have no stress, drink a lot of water, have good friends, and you just don't get a lot of problems. I know it's not scientific, whatever, but I just never have any problems. And I feel like, probably good genes too, whatever. My wrist started hurting. One wrist started hurting so much every time I would type. And I was like, man, I really have this big problem here. I don't really know what to do. I started limiting the amount of time I worked on the computer, all this sort of stuff. And then I realized I had my new watch too tight. I stopped wearing the watch and I have no problems anymore. I don't feel stressed when working. I mean, definitely there are times when cruise sheet goes down or something and I'm in the zone trying to get it working and, not panic stress, but hey, I got to fix this thing fast. Maybe something like that. Anything where you take only half measured approach versus tight and aggressive. Tight and aggressive, by the way, is a poker term. I feel like a lot of things, let's see. So I'm going to do 15 more minutes, guys, by the way. So 15 more minutes, then we're going to get out of here. I feel like actually a lot of things I do sort of end up somewhere in the middle. I go fairly extreme to one end, maybe even fairly extreme to the other end. And then, I find a balance in the middle. What would be a good example of that? I don't know, I said I do that for working out, for example. Used to never work out at all, got hardcore into working out, watching my diet, really close. Now work out every other day, unless I'm traveling or something like that. And, I eat my Chipotle every day, but then, hey, got my tiny slice of pie too. So, The Sopranos is the best of all time, but I do love The Bachelor. Season finale coming this Monday. Alex, I find I'm most productive working by myself, to be honest. I hate working from coffee shops and stuff. There's a few tea shops like Joe I like working from, but I prefer working by myself. It's actually a lot of why I liked Vegas in the beginning is I had no friends here and I didn't try to make any. So I just had my little apartment, had a perfect desk set up, and I would just leave San Francisco and I would just be here for weeks, just coding, being in the zone, nice routine. And then I'd go back to San Francisco and hang out with my friends. But different people are different. I don't think that's the best. Good question. Damn, Danny, can you just ask me a question for every week for my blog posts? I don't want to come up with these anymore. These are all so good. Have you ever gone on shared real estate with family? Yes, my aunt and cousin own a share of the island. And that's been amazing, actually. That was really one of my favorite experiences on the island was we had to build the yurt. This is sort of my Peru story where we had to build this yurt in 3 days. And then they shipped it late. We had all these situations where we then had to build it in 2 days. We had no idea what we were doing. And then one of the people who was going to show up didn't show up. And then Brian had a fever of 110 or something. He was on death's door. So it was me, Brian, and my aunt, who's in her 50s. So, not old, but also not young. And yeah, Brian's triggered. I know I'm triggered even thinking about it. And then the other issue was that we had the platform covered in tarps, which then became a breeding ground for mosquitoes. So it was a cloud of mosquitoes here. And so we're trying to build this yurt. Brian wanted to get hard hats for safety. I wanted to save $20 and not buy hard hats. My poor 55-year-old aunt took a 17-foot long 2x6 to the head from 6 to 20 feet, because it was at an angle, to the head like this, and kept working because we had no other option. We had seawater in a jug on her head. And she looks over at me, and this is she's a real estate agent, upper middle class, suburban housewife, real estate agent who just took a beam to the head, huge welt right here. And she just looks at me and she's like, we don't have time for me to sit out, do we? We have to keep going. And I was like, yeah, we really do. So that was really cool. I got to see my aunt, I love my aunt, have this great relationship with her. but got to see this totally other side of her, a totally different side of her on the island. She was carrying like full blown window frames, like scrambling up the rocks. Like blew my mind to see her in that mode. So like I felt like it really deepened our relationship. She loves the island. It's like her favorite place in the world. She said I was really worried that like it was a bad experience for her. And then I was staying with her after the island trip, and I overheard her on the phone with her friend saying like, it was the best weekend of my life. I loved it. So that was really cool. And then the other really big, so of course I like doing these real estate things for myself. I mean, I have an amazing time. For my friends, we have an amazing time. But part of what I think of is it's a way for me to create an experience that people would not otherwise have. My family, everybody's, people are doing great, but, realistically, how many of my family members would get to go to a private island? Probably zero. Probably I wouldn't have gotten to go to one if I didn't buy it. So I take a lot of pride in that, like, we bought this thing and now we can all go to the private island together. So we had this one amazing family trip where like 8 of us went to the island, and like, they helped us do projects. We had like it was the first time we used our little like camp kitchen. We had like an amazing feast that we cooked on the island together. We did boat rides. And it was just like such a cool experience where honestly, it was probably worth what I paid for my share of the island just for that 1 week with my family. A lot of my family members have come to the to Hawaii. I think all of my siblings have come to Hawaii. Most of my siblings have come to Budapest. Actually, when my brother who came to Vegas was in Hawaii, he was like, all right, let's get some projects done. And he helped with a lot of projects there. So yeah, traveling with my family is like one of my favorite things, and getting to bring them to these properties is one of my favorites. My brother-in-law came to Japan and helped us set it up. That was super fun, super helpful. Leo and I have gone on like some amazing trips together. The way Leo and I met was kind of cool. So in San Francisco, when I moved there, and I don't even remember what year it was, maybe 2011, it's just bad luck. I think it's 2011 or something. I don't know. If Leo remembers, he can say. Through Tim Ferriss's blogs, I heard about Samovar, or Tim Ferriss and Kevin Rose's videos, heard about Samovar. And so I started going to Samovar. It's this amazing tea house, and I would go there every single day to work, and became friends with the owner, Jesse, who's just like this amazing guy, super connector, knows like everybody cool in San Francisco, and just like really good heart, like amazing person. And despite the fact that I was basically a freeloader, like I would buy one tea and I would be like working for like 5 hours in the back every day. He was like really cool to me. And one day he comes up and he's like, Leo Babauta is coming in today. I have a meeting with him. He's like, you're a blogger too. I'm going to introduce you guys, which was really kind of a nice thing to do because, Leo, this kind of stuff gets to his head. He has a very big ego, but he's a pretty famous blogger. And I'm like let's be honest, middle level famous blogger. So, it's a really nice thing for him to like make that introduction. So he kind of introduced us very briefly. And, I think we just said hi. Maybe, I don't even think we like really had a conversation. But then Leo went to the tea house a lot too. So then a few weeks later, I was sitting in the back working, and Leo came in, and, Leo's a very insecure, sort of desperate person with no friends. And so he saw me and he said, oh, hey, would you mind if I sat with you? And so we just had we had a conversation. We're sort of just immediate fast friends. I'm not being very impressed. Sure. Leo was probably my biggest fan from that day on. Since then, Leo and I have done I feel like 99% of the time Leo and I hang out, we're having tea, to be honest. Dieter, good. Leo is not Zen at all. Are you kidding me? I mean, I don't want to blow him up too much, but some of the things Leo said to me. Dieter, what's one thing you would advise someone to do to create an amazing experience with friends? So, good question. I think that I think just being proactive is the biggest thing. Like, even if you just organize like, hey, we're going to have lunch or we're going to have dinner once per week, every Sunday at this restaurant, most of what makes being a good friend, one of the easiest ways to contribute to a friend group or to contribute to a friendship is just to create some opportunity for people to connect. So, it's cool to buy an island or do all these trips or whatever, but really just like my friend group in San Francisco was started over my friend Todd and I having burgers at Rome Burger every Sunday, and then we would just invite everybody. And it became this really tight-knit friend group that did a whole bunch of trips together and all this kind of stuff. So, I think it depends where you're at. If you're already at that level, you already have a great group of friends. Yeah, maybe buy a shared property together or something like that, or organize a trip together is another really good way. I think that the kind of bonds you create with people when you travel and you're sort of like, you don't have the distractions of normal life, are, it's different. I think you get to like sort of a different level of depth often. All right, guys, we got like 4 more minutes, then I gotta get on with my life. It's been super awesome having this. This is more fun than I thought it was going to be, and I thought it was going to be really fun. Really, really cool to see everybody. Like, to see 2 of my best friends, Leo and Brian, here is amazing, and like contributing. Seeing like a lot of my readers that I've seen, seeing people who I've coached, seeing people from my events, seeing people from Noah's live stream, really like warms my heart. Super, super fun. I think I mentioned this one on my blog posts, but like just seeing everybody's responses in the survey, like really was like a breath of fresh air for blogging. I was getting kind of burnt out, and now I'm like so psyched I want to blog more. And this is the same kind of thing. Definitely makes me want to keep doing these, keep blogging, definitely figure out some sort of community thing. Because you guys are just like super awesome. And I think in my real life, I think what makes me most happy is that my friends are friends with each other. So I would love to also help facilitate that with readers and join, make them friends with each other. Community meetups I would love to do as well. I'll leave the video up for a little while. I don't know. I have to think a little bit about how I'm going to do that. I also would kind of like to keep doing some YouTube content. I just, as you can see with the blog, when I start doing something, it never ends. And so I don't want to sign up for something where I'm going to have to like be stressed out about making content every week. But I was thinking maybe I'd do these and maybe have somebody edit them down or something. I don't know, something like that. Definitely open to any ideas. Hey, you guys were here for Tea Time with Tynan #1. So any feedback, any ideas, probably more about community than I do. So any ideas you guys have, I'd be interested in. Tynan@tynan.com. You can email me. I'm not the best at replying, but do what I can. Usually I'll get to it, especially if it's like, if it's suggestions, I usually try to look them up. If it's questions, if they're short, I almost always answer. Yeah, check out Samovar. Zach, unfortunately they're closed actually, I think. It's like the saddest thing. I met so many of my best friends through Samovar. In fact, I think I've met all of my San Francisco friends directly or indirectly through Samovar. So it's really sad to me right now. All the brick and mortar locations are closed, and I'm not sure if they're going to open again. All right, I'm going to keep it up. I'll keep it up. You guys have convinced me. It's up. I'll tell you, the only reason I was thinking about not keeping it up, not this one necessarily, but like in my personal events, I feel like I can really I should share a lot more because I don't have to worry about it being searchable, more like personal kind of stuff. And so I don't know, like if I know it's going to be up forever, I have to be a little more careful. Not that careful though. That's right. Yeah. Brian and I, that's right, man. It's funny. I have so many memories of time with Brian. He's like one of my best friends. And I have zero recollection of the first time we saw each other after 20 years, which is wild. I do have a Patreon, David. Come on. I have a Patreon. What is it? /Tynancom/Tynan. something like that. Yeah, Dieter, that's a good idea. I might leave it for a week. I don't play PC games. I do play VR games. I play Population 1. I love Population 1. Oh, thanks, David. Sorry if I didn't know that. Yeah, it's funny. I really do appreciate all my Patreon people. It's not like I'm making a ton of money from it, but like it really means so much to me. And yeah, just like it's like, oh man, this person like actually cares enough to like proactively. Yeah, it's just cool. But no pressure to anybody. Don't give me money if you don't want to. Sweet. So maybe I'll do another one of these. Maybe I don't know. What's up, Wayne? Dude, good to see you, man. Did you just get here? Too late? All right, I'm going to stay on for 15 more minutes because I'm just going to sit and drink my tea anyway, 15 more minutes. But if you have to go, you can go because I already said it's going to be over. Oh, you have been there. Just saying hi at the end? Come on, man. You know, I need to know who's here, so I can keep it in mind. Yeah, David, that's what I was thinking is I have a friend who's a really good editor. So I might have him just edit it into clips. I'll probably just leave this one up for a week. Will it stay up automatically? I don't really know how it works. We'll give it a try. We'll see. Yeah, the pot keeps the temperature. It's a fellow stag EKG, I think is what it's called. Yeah, it's really good. Roman, no, I don't play Echo anymore. I only play Population 1. It's so much fun, and I think I've like sort of gotten to a certain level of proficiency with it that, yeah, like I don't feel much motivation to play the other ones. And I have some friends that I play it with all the time who live in different countries. So it's just kind of fun to, yeah, we get to like chat and hang out every day and kind of get better together, sort of like poker used to be. VR isn't a strain on the eyes. I don't know why. It does seem like it would be. But yeah, it's not for me anyway. What temperature do you use for your tea? So this is black tea, which I do at about 95 Celsius, which is like 200 or so Fahrenheit. Yeah, I do vary it. For oolong, you do 85 Celsius, and you can kind of vary it a little bit up or down. For green, I do 75. Yeah, actually, Brian is one of the, I don't know if pioneer is the right word, but Brian has worked in VR for a very long time. He worked at Facebook and actually worked on Oculus. And he, if you've ever heard of Oculus Medium, it's a VR sculpting tool. He invented it. And I owned 1% of it at one time, which is kind of cool because of him. Yes, Brian is the godfather of VR. I wish this was like one of those chat things where you could add tags. I would do Brian Sharp, godfather of VR, Leo Batuta, not very zen. Do I prefer receiving questions in chat or prefer written advance? I like doing it here. I always like doing things ad hoc. I don't know. I feel like it's different styles for different people, but for me, I feel like it's a little more natural. I kind of like being on the spot a little bit. So yeah, I like that. Brian, what do you mean worst investment in your life? You wait and see. If we would just have like some people cruising, it would be back. Yeah, Fatima, good question. So one of the things I want to do is have tea times with Tynan and friends. I think that'd be really fun. So let me think. Do I have any friends coming soon? Yeah, it was negative dividends. That's true. Yeah, but for sure, if Brian's here, if Leo's here, if I'm visiting them, maybe Brian and I will probably do one from Hawaii sometime. That would be really fun. Eventually, my dream really I figured I'd just start this from home where it's like easy and I have a good setup. But I think it'd be kind of fun to do it while I'm traveling. Like do it in the different home bases. Even like Jiao Zhou in Budapest, I could do it there before they open for an hour or something like that. Get the owner there with me. Tea time with my kick-ass aunt. Dude, that would be pretty fun actually, wouldn't it? Maybe I would do that actually. Yeah, I think that would be fun. I think one of the big things I got from my survey is I think like I think sometimes I think about my blog in terms of like, what product should I make for people, or how should I make money? And then I feel like at this point I don't really need any money, so I should just do things that are like fun for the community and focus on that. Like probably there's more to gain, not just for me, but for the community by like, trying to create some group events and stuff like that. Even if I've never become like, I can do YouTube and not become famous on YouTube, but if I'm just providing some little service for like even 100 of my readers, probably worth it. There's no Wi-Fi on the island, but there is cell service, which is, we actually get really good LTE. We all have T-Mobile, which lets you roam. So we actually have really good cell service. So I do like coaching calls from there and stuff. That's pretty fun. I'll tell you one thing I really want to do. I don't know. It could be a tricky one. Actually, so I want to do a cruise with readers. I think that'd be fun, but don't want any weirdos there. So what I think I might do is do some community thing and then like invite the people who are like active in the community, something like that. Yeah, Fatima, I think that's the fun thing about video is I think it's a little more personal, right? Like everybody, sometimes when I meet people in person, because of the blog, they think I'm like very serious or like, I don't know, like I get that feedback a lot. And I don't know, I think I'm pretty good natured. So I do think about that for writing. Like, how can I make it so my writing is more like who I actually am? But maybe the easy way is just do video. And I think probably real personality comes through, video. Fatima, the thing is that we've all met weirdos, and it's like, it's such a small percentage of readers that it's not like we think all of our like readers or viewers are weirdos, but like I had a stalker one time who like tracked down my addresses and like sent me weird stuff in the mail, like with creepy messages, like, and I'm not really that famous. So, the vast majority of people I've met are like super, super cool. Oh, look, Leo, I hope Leo's still here. Leo, you see that? You definitely look more Zen than Leo Batuta. I gotta screenshot that. That's a good one. Damn, that's perfect. Fatima, you're the VIP of this community as far as I'm concerned, even though I don't even think you read my blog. That's the kind of comment that gets your head around here. Yeah, I think stoicism, like people, I don't know, not that I'm really, probably I'm like a fake stoic or something, but I think that, I think it has this like very serious sort of idea to it, but I think the people I know who are sort of stoic are, I don't know, I think it just makes you not worry about life basically. And so that way you have like room to be happy and playful and I don't know, just in a good mood. Could be wrong. What do I know? Yeah, like I had a weird stalker once. I mean, Leo, he's such a creepy guy. I bet most of his readers are probably creepy, so I bet he has a lot of stalkers. Actually, we did kind of meet one in Australia. I don't know if Leo remembers that. All right, guys, any last minute questions? Got a few minutes. My tea is starting to get weak. Whoa, Fatima and Dieter know each other in real life? That's cool. Man, that's awesome. So for people who don't know, which is probably a lot of people, Dieter and Fatima are like the two VIPs of Noah's live stream. So I feel really happy that I've poached them. Now what I have to do is have my live stream at the same time as Noah's, and then we can see, see where allegiances lie. Maybe I need to do a few more live streams before I can really like win them over. What's one thing you didn't expect to be looking forward to with the end of the pandemic? Didn't expect to be looking forward to. I don't know. I feel like everything is kind of obvious that I'd be looking forward to. Maybe one thing is I really like doing my live events, and I think I missed that a little bit more than I thought I would. But I don't know, maybe I kind of knew I would miss that. Yeah, I don't know. I think all the things I'm looking forward to. Oh, shows in Vegas. I don't know. Like, yeah, it's all stuff that I think I would expect, though. The fire community is interesting. There are parts of it that I really like, like, of course, like living under your means, I think it's like the first step to like a good life generally. But it seems like, and I don't know much about it, so I could be wrong, but it seems like a lot of them are sort of like, it's more about not working than it is about like living a good life. And so I think they have some good concepts, and it's like a good start of like, okay, how do you like get to that point where you have unlimited runway, you don't have to worry about anything. But it also seems like then the idea is just to sit around and do nothing. Maybe that's not really true and I don't get it, but I don't know. It's something about it rubs me the wrong way. But I think maybe sometimes I feel that way about stuff that's like similar to what I do, but not exactly the same. Like there are all these like companies now that do like shared properties with friends, and they all kind of piss me off. I'm like, that's a crappy way to do it. But really I should be happy about it because it's better than nothing, I guess. FIRE community it stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. So it's people who like, the idea is that, you try to like save up $1 million and then you withdraw 4% per year. And so you live off 40K or something like that. After 15 years of blog history, do you get any kind of weird reactions in real life after people Google you? Yeah, definitely have some, not so much now because I'm kind of removed from it at this point, but definitely got some polarizing reactions from pickup. Yeah, a little bit. It's cool. Oh yeah, it's cool when I meet people in real life though. I like when like people, it doesn't happen often at all, like, especially these days, but I like when people recognize me in real life because I'm definitely not famous enough that it happens a lot. There was one funny time when Leo and I were in Tokyo together, and we're walking through Shibuya, and somebody comes up to her like, "Oh my God, you're Leo Batuta. That's amazing. I'm such a big fan." And then, of course, Leo's bragging about this for like the rest of the day. And then by random coincidence, the very next day, somebody's like, "Tynan, I read your blog." Almost never happens. It was perfect timing though. Don't like San Miguel enough to buy property there. I think it's a cool place, but I think it's a little touristy, a little boring for me, but not bad. Ari, dude, I remember Ari. We were in the World Series of Poker together, right? Like years ago. And I think that's when we first connected. Like, not that we've had any conversations, but I saw you on Twitter and stuff like that. I think Ari's like a real professional poker player. Is that right? Is that right? I think so. America, all of America. Cool. Nice to see you, man. I don't know if I'm going to post more videos. I'll do this for sure. 100% I'm going to keep doing this. I'll do it probably every 2 weeks, maybe even every week. I don't know. It's actually really fun. And I have to drink tea anyway, so why not chat while I drink tea? So I'll definitely do it. And I would like to do more YouTube stuff, but I just, Noah does a lot about it, and he's so good at it and he enjoys it. But I also see the treadmill that he's on with producing content, like the same kind of like, here's how this person did this. And I'm just not willing to do it. That's Ethan. That's a longer story than I've got time for. I did go to Burning Man. I went for 8 hours, meant to go for longer, left early. Thought it was really, really, really cool, but not my thing. And all my friends were like doing drugs, and I just don't like. Somebody asked earlier, I don't like being around my friends when they're on drugs. And like all my friends who don't do drugs were doing drugs. It was weird, man. I didn't like it. But there was like really cool art, and the anarchy of it worked better than I thought. So yeah, it was interesting. All right, guys. That's it for me. Thank you so much for joining for the first one. My goal was to get 50 people. There's still 82 people after 2 hours. That was crazy. We had over 100 at one point. Really enjoyed doing it. Really like connecting with you guys. Really appreciate all the good questions. Yeah, it makes me super happy and like proud to have readers like you guys and people participating. So seriously, thank you so much. And yeah, see you next week or 2 weeks or something like that. We'll do it again soon. Cheers.